Hello everybody, my name is Zohri Chaudhary and today's topic is CERCLA Priority List of Hazardous Substances. So hazardous waste site in the US, this map, that's where we're seeing different location around the US that shows the Superfund sites that we discussed earlier, and the Superfund sites are in blue. Then we are seeing the current RCRA sites in green, and then in brown we are seeing the brownfield sites. So what are these brownfield sites? Essentially, there are about 40,000 hazardous waste sites that have been reported to federal agency. And brownfield sites are sites that are abandoned, closed, or underused industrial or commercial facilities, such as an abandoned factory in a town's former industrial section, or a closed commercial building or warehouse in a suburban setting. In many of the cases, brownfields have used hazardous waste, hazardous chemical, and potentially they may be hazardous in nature, so they need to be watched in here. Superfunds, as we mentioned earlier, are sites that are to be remediated for hazardous chemicals, and RCRA sites are those sites that have hazardous spills and are active sites that need to be that are getting cleaned up. So National Priority List sites eligible for CERCLA. This is a list that is a short list, and these shortlisted sites are known as National Priority List. These are locations where there are hazardous chemicals and they need to be cleaned up, and they are eligible to be financed under CERCLA. As of 2014, 1,322 sites are within the National Priority List, and within these sites, 375 have been cleaned up already, and 53 new sites have been proposed for inclusion. And this map, which we also saw it earlier, in red we are seeing the Superfund sites, in yellow the proposed Superfund sites, and in green the cleaned up Superfund sites. So, CERCLA Priority List of Hazardous Substances essentially is a list of chemicals, and there are about few hundred chemicals in this priority list of hazardous substances. It is put together by the Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry, or known as ATSDR, and the top 20 hazardous chemicals are the most hazardous within this list. And this list of hazardous of CERCLA Priority List is revised every 2 years, and it is based on two main criteria: whether the chemicals that are featured have known or suspected toxicity, and the potential for this chemical for human exposure at the CERCLA or the National Priority List locations that I shown earlier. Based on these two criteria, the chemicals are ranked. So if a chemical is extremely toxic, however, the potential for exposure is small, then the ranking would make it go lower, because both are important. If a chemical has high potential for exposure with medium to high toxicity, then that chemical would definitely rank much higher. So based on these two criteria, toxicity of the chemical and exposure to human health in NPL location, this is the top 20 list of chemicals ranked from the most harmful to the 20th most harmful. All of them are very dangerous. In red, you can see the inorganic chemicals: arsenic, lead, mercury, cadmium, hexavalent chromium, and phosphorus white, and there are 6 of them. I would highly recommend that you memorize this list, not the ranking, just that they are within the top 20. Vinyl chloride, polychlorinated biphenyls, benzene, benzoapyrene, and many other chemicals, including DDT, are featured in this list as well. And the black designate that they are organic chemically organic chemical. So that was the list that I showed you was the list in 2000, like currently, whereas in here in 2003, in the past, this is how the list looked like. And if you notice, between the 2003 and the current list, there has not been a lot of movement. That means that this chemical, the exposure is still high, and toxicity is well known. So they still are within the top 20 most dangerous chemicals. However, as their exposure declines because of banning and half-life decay, they slowly start falling off the list as well. Okay. All right, so which substances moved up or down the ranking from 2003 to present? That's something that you definitely want to take a close look at and see whether anything has moved. And as I mentioned, the movement is very minor. These 20 chemicals in here, they can be categorized in many categories. So arsenic, lead, mercury, cadmium, hexavalent, chromium, and phosphorus, they're all metals or elements. They're inorganic in nature. DDT is a pesticide, as most of you know. Orochlor as well as dieldrin have been used as pesticides. And then you have industrial solvents such as benzene and trichloroethylene. Combustion byproduct are the benzoate, pyrene, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, benzofluoranthene, dibenzoanthracene. They're all combustion byproducts. And then some of the chemicals that are pesticide, they are also used as industrial applications, such as the orochlors. Chloroform, vinyl chloride, and plurichloride biphenyls are also used in industrial applications. So in here, this list helps you to categorize the list that you saw earlier into various categories, so you can to help you remember them better. Okay, so let's do some quick concept check. Hexavalent chromium is not on the recent list of top 20 hazardous substances in the United States. That's false. It is an inorganic chemical and it is in the list. DDT is featured in the recent list of top 20 hazardous substances in the United States. That's true. DDT is indeed featured in the top 20 list. It is a pesticide and has been banned long time back, but the exposure is very high in NPL sites. That concludes our lecture for today.